Hello and welcome to the Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings podcast. This is part 2 on our discussion about gun rights. I'm here with Stephen Murray, Ethan Horton, and Kimball Morris. I am Nathaniel Horton, your host of the podcast. And we were going to start this second part of our discussion with this statistic. This is based on mass shootings committed since 1990 in two different scenarios. One scenario is a mass shooter that has no armed resistance nearby, and a mass shooter that has armed resistance nearby. In a chance that, when school shooters are stopped by police officers, normally they kill about 15 people. The actual number is like 15.7. So 16 people die in a mass shooting where 16 people are killed in a mass shooting where the mass shooter is stopped by police. If a mass shooter is stopped by an armed citizen, they kill about 2.2 people. This is on average. This is not every scenario. This is not every situation ever. But I'd like to start with Ethan, actually. And what's your reaction to that statistic? Question: Do good people with guns stop bad people with guns?
Well, I got a question first. Can I ask one question?
Yeah.
Alright, so what is the different, how many of them are there? How many mass shootings have been stopped by armed citizens, and how many armed shootings have been stopped by police?
More have been stopped by police, but less people die when it's stopped by armed citizens.
Alright, but you can't,
I don't know the actual numbers off the top of my head.
You can't compare the two if you don't have, so say there's 15 stopped by police and 3 stopped by armed citizens. You can't compare them.
It's still enough to get a good
average. We're not comparing the numbers of shootings stopped by either side. We're comparing the number of lives saved.
The number of lives lost.
Are policemen not armed citizens?
The police are trained officials with...
If there was a police officer who was off duty, they would have been counted with the armed citizen.
Okay.
Alright.
Okay.
So
What's your reaction to this statistic and the question: do good people with guns stop bad people with guns?
My reaction to the statistics is that we need more police in public spaces.
Okay.
Amen.
If we didn't have to wait for several minutes for policemen to get to public spaces, then I'd say the police number, the number of lives saved by police would be even lower than by armed citizens, because police are trained to do that job. We pay taxpayer money for police to be trained to do that job. Police in public spaces is my first thing. Good people with guns do stop bad people with guns, but bad people with guns stop. If you eliminate the bad people with guns, you eliminate the entire situation. There is no situation where a bad person with a gun can shoot a bunch of good people. If you eliminate the gun from the situation, then there's no problem.
Well, then the bad person would find another object to kill people, or in a country like the United States, get a gun off of the black market.
Yeah, but it's a lot more difficult, right? To get...
See, you don't even have to get a gun off the black market. See, Nathaniel mentioned the black market. I don't think that you don't even have to get a gun off the black market, because if I wanted to, I could sell one of my guns to you right now, or I could just trade you. If I said, I want a pencil today, but I don't have anything, if I chose to trade my gun for a pencil, it is legal for me to do that, and there's no paperwork that has to go through.
That's called the black market, Stephen.
No, it's not.
No, it's not. It's
legal.
There is a whole... It is legal. It is fully legal.
Because it's off of the record, therefore it's the black market, essentially.
All right, Mr. Morris, what's your reaction to the statistics and the question?
I mean, dude, sure they saved lives, but I agree with Ethan. If the gun wasn't there to start the situation, then you wouldn't need anybody dying. I mean, that's the main goal, is it not? For nobody to have to die.
Yeah.
So if the guns were not there, then nobody would be dying.
Cool.
Now, I'm not saying take guns away from people, because that's just a stupid choice. Don't even try to do that. But I do believe that some guns should be harder to obtain and stuff.
Cool. Steven?
So obviously, I believe that good people with guns can stop bad people with guns. As far as what they said with guns being there is the issue with bad people, I think that's and taking them away from bad people. I think that's a very unrealistic goal. With the fact that yes, the black market and everything, I just think that even if you make so many laws and statutes on restricting guns and everything, the only people that will follow it will be people like me who will follow the law as a legal gun owner. And
Hunters don't go shooting that place.
I really believe that the only real way to stop a shooter is to disarm them and arrest them, or shoot them back. Because when it comes down to it, if we're killing just one life, which would be the bad person with a gun, versus watching 15 others die, you've just got to look at it as there are lives saved with every armed person that's on the streets. And as far as armed citizens versus police, most of the time armed citizens are taking concealed carry classes, and they have to retake that class every so often. And I believe that they have the same amount of a very close amount of training as police officers do as far as concealed carry goes.
No.
So
I disagree.
obviously they're not going to respond in the same way as a police officer would, but I believe that they have adequate training to stop a bad person with a gun. So I believe that they are an adequate system to stop bad people from hurting others with guns and saving lots of lives.
Cool. Thanks for that response to that topic. Let's continue with the discussion we were having earlier at the end of the last part. So let's just say there is this scenario. There's a guy with a gun, and the government tries to take his gun. Would that be against the Second Amendment?
Yes.
Would you change it? Would you change the Second Amendment, say if that person had an AK-47 on him that the government was trying to take away?
The only way you're going to be able to legally take people's guns is if you change the Second Amendment.
Yeah. And I don't think that it should be changed. So I think people should have the right to own guns. Absolutely. I've been raised around guns my whole life. I know guns. I don't have an issue with them. I don't know them. That's not a good word choice. But I know that they can be useful, like when you go hunting and stuff. But
Also not necessary.
why is it not necessary?
Why is
Hunting is not necessary.
Why?
You can go to a grocery store to get your food.
How did they get that
You do
food?
not have to be a hunter and gatherer to go get your food.
Well, nobody said about hunting and gathering. But
What's wrong? Okay,
it's
so
fresher than
you're saying that are
right,
you
no, this
saying
is
that
not the
the
right
Second
topic. This is
Amendment
not the
is
right
for hunting purposes only?
In which case, why would it say shall not be infringed if it is for gun rights, for hunting only? And what does the phrase shall not be infringed have on you? What does it mean to you?
Shall not be infringed means shall not, like it can't be taken away.
Nobody
Okay,
can
then why are you
mess
trying
with it.
to advocate for people to get guns taken away?
So, in the Constitution, there's a necessary and proper clause.
Yes.
Correct? It has come to a point now where people are dying at a faster rate from gun deaths than ever, especially in America, because we don't,
Protect.
we don't take the guns out of the situation. Therefore, it is necessary and proper for the government to change its previous plans from the Second Amendment, which was shall not be infringed, and change something.
So if you think that things have changed since the time of the Second Amendment, shouldn't the First Amendment only cover the religions that were happening during the 1700s? Should it only cover ink and parchment for the right to free speech?
No.
Why?
That's not what I said.
Technology has changed over time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I said.
And
They knew that
if
was
the
gonna
first
happen.
That's exactly what I said.
The
They
founding
knew that was
fathers.
going to happen.
The founding fathers knew that technology and stuff was going to change. I believe
Yes,
that
realize that
but
people
they
were
didn't
going
realize
into
people
schools
were
and
going to
schools.
go
But
up
wait a
into
minute,
schools and
But
shoot
wait a minute,
children.
Kimball. But wait a minute, Kimball. Obviously, no one planned for school shootings. None of the founding
Exactly.
fathers planned
That's
for
my
that.
point.
However, I
Nobody
believe that
planned
they
for
set
it.
up the
That's why
Constitution
there's an
in
issue.
ways where they expected us to have a different
Enough
world.
common sense not
It's
to do that.
it's the 10th Amendment, correct, that gives us the right. If it's not written in the Constitution,
It's safe for the states.
it's no. Which
Yeah.
one is it for?
Yeah,
Is
there's
you have the
more
right to do it
rights
as long as
listed than-
yes. Which
that's
amendment
the
is
Ninth
that?
Amendment.
Yes, the Ninth Amendment. So therefore, I think that also applies to us.
I have the right
I
to-
legally own an AR-15. I'm not breaking the law. I have not broken
You
the
mean
law.
your grandpa owned
I-
it?
I think it should be illegal.
You mean your grandpa
And
owns
while
it?
you think it is illegal,
I don't think it is illegal. I think it should be
Your
illegal.
grandpa
I mean,
owns it.
as a matter of fact, we didn't even buy it. We won it in a raffle.
That's just
So, I was fortunate enough to have it, and now my grandfather, he says that all his guns are mine, so I consider it to be mine. And he tells me all the time, it's your gun. He never considers it his. Because he trusts me, and he knows that he raised me in a way to know the value of a human life.
What is his standpoint on AR-15s?
My grandfather's standpoint on
Yeah.
AR-15s? He
What is his
doesn't.
standpoint?
He considers all guns to be dangerous.
Exactly.
My grandfather has raised me in a way to say that the moment you touch a gun, you check to make sure it's on safe, you check to make sure it's loaded, and you never point it in an unsafe direction.
No, not every parent or grandparent is your grandfather.
And I realize
You
that,
can't.
Kimball.
So
I realize that, but most classes, such as concealed carry classes and other means of legal gun owners in which they get their education, they teach the very same things. Whenever I took Hunter's education, I went to my grandfather and said, Papa, I'm literally taking a class for no reason. You taught me this when I was 4 years old, sitting on your lap, and we were talking about a BB gun.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just
I've
the
been
world
shot
I've
at.
grown up in, and I started shooting when I was 5 years old. So I've literally grown up shooting.
All right, we have about 2 minutes left, so let's close with trying to put our heads together and find a way to protect people's rights to own firearms and protect people in spaces that are quote gun-free zones.
I just think there should be more regulations, more paperwork, and it should be more difficult to buy guns. Because if it's more
is
difficult, if it's more difficult than it already is. Because if it's more difficult than it already is, the people that want to go up and shoot places won't. It'll be harder for them to get the weapons to do that. So it might discourage some of them from doing it. You can't disagree with that
So-
because it's true.
To rebut that, what would you do about the firearms that already are in people's hands that could do that have malcontent towards people in gun-free zones that have a reason for some reason to go shoot up a school or something?
School resource officers.
School resource officers, more police in public spaces.
That's what we would do about that.
Okay.
And you got to raise taxes to do it, but I mean, if it saves lives, so what? I'll pay more money. I don't pay money right now, but I'll pay money later. My parents won't be happy.
To
about
rebuttal
it,
that,
but-
I don't think a solution would be so much as more police officers. That while that can be a solution, I think that what we need to do is establish a system where we at least have a more prevalent education of firearms and also proper ways of
That's just going to
handling.
cause more deaths because bad people are going to get educated.
not teaching people how to shoot them so much as
Statistics.
just teaching them
This is what can happen.
this is what can happen, like teaching students about what causes them, like in most cases it's bullying or stuff like that. We need to
You're not
educate
gonna
students
stop
on stuff. And while it's very unrealistic to say that you can stop stuff like that, it's just, it's one of those things. Are we
It's
still rolling?
unrealistic,
Yes.
but you wish
Okay.
it could happen.
We have 40 seconds.
All right, time
Just to sum it all up, I think that we need to have more education of the public, and I also think that if they're better educated about guns, they can make smarter decisions with respect to gun regulations versus just saying a solution is police officers.
Thank you all for joining the Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings podcast. I'd like to thank Stephen Murray, Ethan Horton, Kimball Morris for attending this week. This is a production of Facts Don't Care About Your Feelings Media, and we will see you next time.